Hey, everybody. My name is Mark Christianson. I am from Mars, and I am a senior delivery lead with our digital workplace team. The learning objectives that we have today are who we are, who's Mars, and why are we implementing AR and VR for sales. The challenges that we went through and how we address them, and where are we headed in the future. So what is it that Mars is going to do as we take this new technology and we move it forward? How are we impacting our business? Who I am. I am a bit of an amalgam. 25 years of working with internet technologies. I started building websites in 1995 with HTML and Notepad, and things have come a long way since. And the technology has just moved forward. And I'd like to tell everybody that I've always looked a little bit into the future as to what was coming down the pipe. And I just have a real strong passion for all the technology that's coming out. It's moving so fast these days, and staying on top of it has been something that I truly enjoy. I'm a former, well, if you can never be a former anything, U.S. Army paratrooper with the 82nd Airborne Division. Very proud of that. Served during Desert Shield and Desert Storm. And you'd ask, why do you pitch that when you're talking about internet stuff? But I'll tell you, once you have learned how to jump out of planes and you take the mentality of moving forward and just kind of finding ways to put that fear in the back of your head, this definitely goes with some of the things that we're doing out here. We're taking risks, we're pushing the envelope and trying new things. I'm a proud husband of 26 years and a hugely proud father of two sons, adult sons. So I'm starting to have more time in my life, that's for sure. And I call myself an amateur futurist, which just means that I like to look at how things are impacting the future, near future. So a couple of years down the lane, what is being reshaped by the world that we're in and this unique time, and how that's going to impact our business and what we should be thinking about as we move forward. And that kind of takes me into what I think the internet has always been for me, which is a student of human behavior. From web pages to email to meetings to augmented and virtual reality. It's less about the technology and more about the people and what do they think and what do they do and what do they need to get done. So being a student of the behavioral is about understanding people, and that lets me understand what we need to do and how we need to apply the technology. Because you can have it all day long, but if they don't want to take it or they don't want to use it because they don't feel that it's right for them, then they won't adopt it. So it's always about listening to the customer, about our fellow associates, and what are they telling us? What are their challenges? So how we can apply that. Mars is an incredible company. I've been with Mars now for about 4.5 years. They are a privately held 109-year-old company by the Mars family. And so many people think of Mars and they're not quite sure what Mars is until we start to talk about M&Ms and Snickers and usually it's the candy company. But as you'll see in this slide, we've got quite a bit of other holdings in our pet care and our food business. It's just an amazing company around the world. We have our businesses at every level, between distribution and factories and right down to the consumers. So it's just, there's such a great company to be engaged with. The corporate culture is amazing. We have amazing brands. We have amazing associate loyalty and customer loyalty. So it's a pleasure to work with some of the most amazing people that I've ever worked with. And I'll tell you, if they'll let me, I will end my days here. Just a great company. But as you can see, we've got a number of brands you probably know. Some of them you probably recognize, but didn't realize. So you'll see various things from pet care and confection and food. So at some point, you're probably going ahead and you're using our products. You didn't even know it. So we want to focus on sales here. The social distancing has created quite an interesting area in our business, and we're rethinking contact with others and how the technology can help us to manage reduction in travel, reduction in contact. How do we still take complex ideas and help other people get the idea? This is an important concept. We have to do better. And I think once things roll back to whatever the normal will be, it certainly won't be what we had yesterday. So there are so many things that we're learning here that we're applying and starting to look for as part as a company and in the technology to bridge these gaps. So this is it's probably the best time. And I know it's a terrible time for most people, but I'll tell you, if you're in the solutions, this is probably the best time to make digital change at your company. And it's certainly an environment for us that has been progressing way faster than it ever had before. Two applications I'm going to talk about. Mars Augment, which is a sales display visualization, and that's with the customer. So in this case, our customer is the managers at a store level. So not the consumers, the people buying the product, but it's the store owners, store managers, those types of people. And then Perfect Store, which is, well, we're gonna step back a little bit. We're gonna talk about training our sales team to go out and do the best job with the customer. So two ways to deal with the customer, one internally, one externally, both sales. So Mars Augment came about I'd say about a year, 18 months ago, where we wanted to look at these large scale displays. And when you have these, normally they're printed or you have a picture of them. We have these increasingly large displays. They can be 20 feet, 40 feet. And the salespeople have to go into those customers and tell them, like, we want you to put this in here and it's going to be this big. And how is it that they can visualize that? You really have to trust that the person on the other side of things can really envision what you want to do. So there's a big difference in going in there and just saying it's this long, this tall, and this high. That may not get it. They don't see it, and maybe they push back, or maybe they accept it, and then when it comes, it just isn't what they were thinking, and so we had returns. We had all kinds of issues in not using those, and they're very expensive to send out. So we wanted to increase the ability to go into those areas, put down these 3D displays, and let them speak for themselves. We did this in a rapid format. The initial MVP, so the minimum viable product, went out 10 weeks after we kicked it off. So we were in store, and as you see in the photo here, that's not an actual display. That is actually the the augmented reality, where we just kind of staged our salesperson is out there standing next to it, so it appears in the store. And so this is some of the great things that we have here to really kind of sell the story and help us get there. So those are some of the things we want to do and learn, grow, and scale the solution. So we started with our food business, and then how do we grow that throughout the company? Recently, what we've started to do is we've taken the application and we've deployed this with our Royal Canin pet care business. And we're starting to let them go, and sales can start showing these sales displays to various pet and vet stores. And then we can go through, and the application is iOS. We can go through and use all of the quick look technology. So you can spin an object around, you can place it on the floor, on the wall. We have the ability to capture the photos, as you saw on the previous slide, so that we can minimize contact. We can give them something to take to others for approval. This has been a very popular feature to be able to take these photos, and we're having a lot of fun with it. Our associates have been placing these displays in their own space, and then sending these photos out and trying to catch people on seeing what the realism is. And so far, it's been really interesting to see the ability to walk through or walk up to these displays has actually been one of the really key features. Unlike a picture, you can actually take the iPhone or an iPad and you can walk yourself through one of these displays. So walk right up to something and see what it's going to look like in that space. And so it's very powerful. We've done a nice back end where it's all Office 365. So all of this comes from a source, which is SharePoint. We're on a Microsoft platform, and so we actually really thought that we wanted to create something where we can create a 3D catalog, and where could we do this and build this so that we don't have to keep deploying the same application over and over. So we've done it this way in order to grow and scale much quicker than we could in the past. So a couple of the challenges. Currently, Mars Augment is iOS only. This is because Quick View was very easy to implement. It was kind of built into iOS, and it made for it to be very easy for us to do. We struggled a bit with file standards. We are currently using USDZ, but if you've watched this space, you know there's GLTF and FBX and GLB and all these other wonderful formats. So, but there isn't really a standard format that we can really rely on. So we're still working through that. And how does that change? And these file formats are creating an interesting dialogue that we have with our vendors who build these displays and trying to give us those different assets. It's a slow build. The people are coming through, and there's excitement about it, but it is definitely a challenge in how do they implement this. So it's something that you have to be in and realize that you're kind of in for the long haul, and kind of focus on it. For VR training, so we've gone from augmented reality to virtual training, virtual reality. We call it Perfect Store, and the training is the best practices for a given store. And so one of the things we want to do is create an immersive and engaging interface. So right now there's a lot of classroom, there's a lot of online to teach our salespeople what is it that is the best practice, what gets the best sales, how should product be laid out, where should product be laid out. And so training our sales team is very important. And so we just finished a pilot recently that takes a lot of that classroom and online learning and culminates in a virtual reality essential test. So you go ahead and you use, in our case, the Oculus Quest, and you'll go ahead and place materials and you'll get scored. And so we've got a fully immersive store setting with background music and noise. So we get more of the senses involved. We feel like the initial hit was great. People were saying that it was a little different because of the way that things moved, but they ultimately felt that it was very powerful and it sticks in your memory. And when you're talking about learning opportunities, sticking in the memory based on how you learn is important. It was not without its challenges. So we had, as I'm sure some of you have experienced or know of, we have had some incidents of motion sickness. This kind of goes with the territory. It's typically after. Interestingly enough, it's after the training. It doesn't stop them, but it's something to keep in mind. We, as a global business, we have some challenges in hardware. The Oculus is an amazing device. We really like the Quest. It's the usage is great. It's easy for the associates to use, but we have some challenges in certain markets where Facebook is a problem with connecting. So we are looking at other ways to get that done with different devices. We had to invent an entirely new way to get hardware to people. So we're going to have these units, and it doesn't make any sense to have every single person have one of these units. So we're working with our site IT, our local IT people in regions to have a certain number of units and create a check-in and check-out system where they'll clean the units, make sure everything is good, and then ship them out to whoever needs them. And this is all new area we didn't really even think of until we started this project. But if you're going to run a global business and you're going to do it, and VR is not an everyday thing, how do you make the most out of those dollars for your headsets? A little bit on the movement. So there was some training with some different pieces where people had to use triggers and they had to teleport. We're seeing that as a minor challenge. People are getting really good very quickly. It doesn't take much training. These units are getting really smart, and the people are starting to get more experienced, and it doesn't take them long to pick it up. But we are seeing it as we're looking forward to more hand tracking and getting and finding different ways to move in the space. And so some of those things where, depending on the space that the users have to move around, see if we can correlate those to minor movements inside the simulation. So where we're going in the future, learn to fail or fail to learn. I think you've got to learn, you've got to fail. Fail fast is what we say here. Learn the lesson and keep moving. And so there's a whole bunch of things here that you can see that we have either done or are doing. Our teams are amazing. Leadership here at Mars is amazing. They're pushing us to find unique and interesting ways. And if that means investing in our associates and investing in the technology, they're behind us. As long as we are doing the fail fast, learning the lesson, we're not beating our head up against something. If it's not working, move on. And so this has been a very powerful cultural difference in this company that I've seen in some companies, but not to this degree. And it's given us the ability to move extremely fast across multiple technologies and really pushing the envelope for what's possible. So augmented reality's lessons learned. If you're going to do augmented reality, I would say AR is best suited for business. VR is there, but the hardware is is still on its way. It's moving fast, but I don't think it's as far as it needs to be. So if you're going to pick between the two, I would say augmented reality is probably the best. You can really get going. But the thing to watch out for is there's so much you can do in this space that we call it analysis paralysis. You end up trying to get all of these different technologies together, and you figure out which one's better and who's doing what. Sometimes you have to just pick something and go with it. It's a gut check, and you're going to have to do it, and you can only look over someone's shoulder, so you're going to have to make your own mistakes, but it's worth it to make those mistakes. Exposure therapy, don't overthink it. That's really the bottom line. It's that easy, is just do something that the people are asking for, or solve a problem. Look at what they're asking for, and then test and try. Get something out fast. Have some fun with it. Let people play around with it. If you could do that in an environment that doesn't mean their job, if something they can work with, they get used to these subjects. Augmented reality is new for a lot of people, so if you can give them something that they can play with in their off time, excellent. It just works better. And then when they do get to the things where they have to go and do this for a sales thing, they're confident. They feel like it. They have a little wonder and wow, and they're more apt to actually use these tools and actually promote them with others. And that's the best way to sell things, is not to sell them. Virtual reality lessons learned. First impressions matter. Don't do the gimmick thing. You're going to be tempted if you haven't done virtual reality. You're probably going to get into something and you're going to say, "This will be cool. I'll get the leaders in and I'll play Beat Saber." And that'll be a terrible mistake. It's something you're going to have to try not to do. Find something that makes sense, gives them a business context, and they can see it. Those are the things that you want to do, is you sell the immersiveness, sell them on something, give them something to envision. If you pick the wrong thing for the first time, that is going to be the basis for their opinions in the future. And if you put a bad picture in a leader's head, it's going to take you a lot longer to reverse that and get them thinking in the right direction again. So choose wisely what you want to go for. It's easy to go quickly, but it's a bit of a challenge. And then takeaways really is just start small, be agile, do it fast. If you're using agile design thinking, that's the best way to go. It's been working for us. We're doing things in weeks, not months, and it's just an amazing solution. So listen to the, introduce technology as a capability, not as a solution. You have to look at that and just give them something. Listen to the field of experts. Those are the guys that are important. And then never sell them, let them want it. Go ahead and push the boundaries and show them what's possible, and then they'll ask you for more. All right, well, if you want to connect with me, this is all my information, and I look forward to any of your questions.